Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, everybody? I hope your weekend has been going nicely. I'll admit that mine was a little bit more emotional, especially with my social media pretty much filled to the brim of just Muppet Vision 3D and how on Saturday, June 7th, it was the final day, and now Muppet Vision 3D, as we know it, as it originally stands in that area of Disney's Hollywood Studios, is done. So I'll admit that it took me some time to try to emotionally recover that because my favorite Disney ride is pretty much gone, at least for now. I don't know about you, because I don't know if you guys follow like theme park news and stuff like that, but oh my god, it was like everywhere. But other than that, though, I do also want to go and say that even with that going on, I have been aware with what's been going on in the world, which I will be covering in this episode a little bit later. But especially with what's been going on in Los Angeles, where there have been the protests against ICE with the way that they have been kidnapping people, pretty much labeling them as quote-unquote illegal aliens and deporting them into their camps and stuff like that. It's just nothing but cruelty right there. But the thing is that right now, there's been a lot of misinformation regarding the fact that apparently there's been riots in Los Angeles against the ICE police, which is not true at all. Pretty much everybody I know and everybody who posted on social media regarding the protests in Los Angeles, like there have been no riots whatsoever. It's all 100% been peaceful, and it's only been the ICE police who would go and attack the innocent bystanders and, you know, like I said before, just try to kidnap any person of color that they could find so that they could go and throw them into camps. And to those people in Los Angeles who are either watching or listening, I fully support your cause. I fully support doing what you do. And all I ask of you is that you never give up. I know this is not going to be an easy battle, especially Donald Trump sending in thousands of troops to go after the American people, pretty much. But still, though, like as scary as it can be, just never give up. Keep fighting the fight and continue doing your peaceful protest, because yeah, as long as you keep fighting, as long as you never give up, you will get out of this, and the ICE police will be taking the L on that. But anyways, with that covered, we do have a heck of an episode coming your way with a bunch of trailers we're going to watch and some crazy news, both in entertainment and in the real world over here. And by the way, before I continue, I do want to make one announcement that tomorrow, or specifically on June 10th, at 4 p.m. Eastern, I will be bringing back What's in the Box, where once again, I'll be opening letters and packages that I've gotten on my P.O. box, and then we could just go and have a little chat, just have like a little fun, casual time where we could just talk, you know? I thought I would go and just quickly mention that if you guys want to be on board, or if you have sent me a letter or a package and you want to see if it has arrived at my door. So without further ado, though, now it is time I would like to go and ask the chat wall, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Now let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Let's see now. Okay, let's see. Yes, I see people are prepared. Great to see. All right, that is beautiful. People are set. People are prepared. And now, with that said, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that I have for you here, well, we are going to be watching not a trailer, but something that is described as a first look. because this is a movie that for quite some time we have been hearing about. Even though it's not necessarily attached to a big name studio, this does have a very prominent all-star cast and a familiar name as a director. But before we do get into those names, let's go ahead and actually see this first look. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and check out this little clip from the upcoming animated feature that is based on the George Orwell book, Animal Farm. Oops, forgot to go and show you that as well.
Things aren't always what they seem, Lucky, and I'll help you decide.
Definitely not Pops. Let's not do that.
No, I was using Pops as a generic term of endearment.
Yes, I know. Shut up. You're ruining this whole thing.
All right, so that was Animal Farm. And as you may have noticed, yes, the pig who is playing Napoleon does sound very familiar. And I'll say now, that was indeed Seth Rogen. But as I insinuated before, there's a lot more familiar names in this adaptation of Animal Farm, because this was a project that has been going on for quite some time, in which it was first noted to be a new animated adaptation of Animal Farm that is brought to us by Andy Serkis. Yes, Gollum and Caesar himself is going to be directing this feature alongside being among the cast as well. And with this all-star cast that I've often mentioned, they include, of course, Seth Rogen as Napoleon, Gaten Matarazzo, Steve Buscemi, Glenn Close, Laverne Cox, Kieran Culkin, Woody Harrelson, Jim Parsons, Andy Serkis, well, I've already mentioned that, Kathleen Turner, and Ayman Vellani. It is also worth noting that this is going to be from a script by Nick Stoller, whom, if you recall, Nick Stoller has previously written a lot of comedies. Some of the most notable works that you animation fans may know. He was also the writer of 2016 Storks and also the 2011 Muppet movie. And as for some of the other factors into this, this has been produced by a company called Aniventure, as well as Andy Serkis's company, Imaginarium. And the animation is brought to us by Cinesight. Now, keep in mind that we don't have a distributor for this yet. We don't have a confirmation in terms of who's going to be releasing it, and let alone a release date either. So all we know is that for now, this animated feature is currently in the market and waiting for someone to go and pick it up so that it would be released. Now, I just want to go and say this right now that honestly, I am a fan of Animal Farm. It was one of those books that I remember I had to go and read in high school, and then I suddenly find myself being like very invested in it. I was thinking to myself, okay, whatever, this is just homework. And then suddenly I found myself like really being immersed into the whole thing and like really getting into the story. I was like, what the fridge is going on? What's happening? Yo, what the hell's happening with the pigs? Oh God, what are you doing with the horse? Oh no, and all that kind of stuff. It's a fantastic book and I highly recommend you go and check it out. And at the same time, I remember several years ago, I actually did do a review of another animated adaptation of Animal Farm, specifically the 1954 movie, which I believe was the first animated feature produced in Britain. And even though that film, technically some could argue that it is a propaganda film, it was kind of a product of the Cold War against communist Russia at the time. So basically to encourage people to stand up against communism and all that kind of stuff. But still, though, it is a fantastic movie in its own right. And that's another thing I highly recommend you go and check it out. But at the same time, though, when I did hear that Andy Serkis was directing a new animated adaptation of Animal Farm, I'm not gonna lie, it actually got me interested. I got pretty curious to see what new version of Animal Farm we are going to see and how would they bring Animal Farm to the modern world, or in this day and age. Maybe not necessarily make a modern adaptation of Animal Farm, but I mean, like, how would you create an Animal Farm movie in this day and age? And based on the first clip that we have seen, I gotta say, I don't know, man. I just don't know. Okay, well, to be fair, we didn't really see much. It was just an interaction with Napoleon and another pig, as well as, well, the performance of Seth Rogen as Napoleon. But still, though, there's just something about it that already from that one clip, I can't help but feel like there's something that, pardon the term, but it feels very Americanized. Like, this is how a mainstream animated feature, like if you get a studio like either DreamWorks Animation or Sony Pictures Animation or something like that, if they would go and create an adaptation of Animal Farm. And in the case of Napoleon, like, yeah, it's very noticeable that it was Seth Rogen playing the role, not just because of the voice itself, but also because of, well, his performance, the kind of personality that Seth Rogen would put upon his characters. Like, regardless of like which one it may be, rather it be like some of the live action stuff he would do, like in Knocked Up or Pineapple Express or Superbad or whatever, or even in some of his animated works as well, like when he would play either Donkey Kong or Bob or Mantis, or even like, funny enough, Pumbaa from the live action Lion King remake. In fact, this Napoleon right over here kind of feels like if Pumbaa somehow decided to believe in what Scar is saying. It's like if Pumbaa somehow adopted the beliefs of Scar and decides to try to trick other people to be part of his like own legion. That's the best way to describe this one right over here. Like, if we just go back for a moment, I just want to go and like if we return to that little clip, like just have a little bit of a listen. Like, yeah, here.
Yeah, sure. No, I get it. All animals are equal. Very much so, you know. But, you know, ultimately, pigs kind of got to stick with pigs, you know? And cows got to stick with cows, chickens with chickens. And I guess what I'm saying is, ever since I saved you back in the rebellion, I feel like we have like a special bond, you know?
You know, a lot of that really, it sounds more Seth Rogen than it actually does Napoleon. But I will say, there are some people that I've seen online that they have argued that this is actually a bit more clever casting than you may think. Yes, Seth Rogen does seem out of place as Napoleon. I would even argue that casting Seth Rogen as Napoleon from Animal Farm is kind of like what the Lilo and Stitch remake did when they casted Zach Galifianakis as Jumba. But some people say that it's actually clever for Seth Rogen to be Napoleon because even if it seems like miscasting, that's kind of the point. Because with Seth Rogen's personality, you would not expect him to be Napoleon, which makes it even more convincing for Napoleon to go and actually, you know, assemble all the pigs together so that they could be, well, in the terms of Animal Farm, more equal than the rest of the animals, you know, so that they, you know, so that he would, you know, using the Seth Rogen charisma, Napoleon could go and get away with a lot more stuff that happens in Animal Farm. And I do understand the theory, and I'll be open to the interpretation that maybe when we do see the entire movie, or if it ever does come out, like maybe we will see it in full and we'll see if that actually does work. Maybe if like this choice of casting Seth Rogen as Napoleon, maybe it would actually work out for this interpretation of Animal Farm. But in this case here, with the first look that we have received, I'm just like, I don't know, man. I just feel like they're, like, with what we have seen in terms of the pacing, in terms of the dialogue that's been passed amongst the pigs there, it just really feels like they're doing Animal Farm, but injecting a lot of those tropes that you would find in the typical mainstream animated film. And I'm kind of worried if that would end up taking away a lot of what made Animal Farm the legendary book that it is today. If it ends up taking away so much of the message, it takes away a lot of the intensity, the suspense of it all. I don't know. It's just, we will have to wait and see, but I don't think this gave me a great first impression. But again, this is only just one small minute-long clip, and maybe in the future we will see a lot more with what is in store with this adaptation of Animal Farm. So is it going to work out? Is it going to fail? I guess we're ultimately going to have to wait and see. And with that said, now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the first look of Andy Serkis's Animal Farm? Are you guys interested in checking this one out? Do you think this has great potential? Or did the first look spoil your appetite and you think it might fail? In fact, I'm going to go and do a little bit of a poll here on the chat. So I want to go and ask you all, did you like the first look of Animal Farm? So I'll go and write down yes, and then I'll write down no. So let's see what you all have to say, and let's see what the chat wall says over here. All right. I will say, it's a fine first look. I read the original book and even watched the live-action adaptation when I was in the 8th grade, and really liked the story and characters they crafted. After watching the first look of a new animated adaptation, it's pretty fine. The animation looks pretty good, and the conversation is kind of cute. Don't know what to expect, but let's see if it's worth it. Okay, and I mean, that's fair. I will say, like, I didn't comment on that, but it is true. Like, one of the better things about the first look we have seen is that the animation is fine. I mean, there's nothing spectacular about it, but it does look okay for what they have done. It, you know, like, even though, like, again, it's just two pigs talking amongst each other while checking out a big view of the farm, but, you know, it's like, it's good. What they did so far is good. Let's see now. What other comments do we have here? I have heard about Andy Serkis's adaptation of Animal Farm for a while now. I think this has potential to be pretty good. The casting sounds promising. The animation is pretty solid. The voice acting sounds pretty good. And I like this unique take on individualism that Napoleon said in this clip. I'll keep my hopes up that it will be good. I know Andy Serkis can do pretty good stuff before. Nice seeing Seth Rogen doing more dramatic performances nowadays. We'll wait and see with what happens next. Oh, absolutely. And I'm just going to go and say now that I am not saying that Seth Rogen cannot do dramatic roles. And there have been times that he has proven that he could do stuff that's not necessarily just a comedy. A great example is that there's this new series called The Studio, and it's been getting high praise. Honestly, it's one thing that I personally should go and check out, like, especially from all the great things that I've heard, and especially it's a movie, like, it's not a movie, it's a show about the Hollywood system and, like, kind of satirizing it. It has piqued my interest. I want to keep an eye on that. All right, so let's see, what other comments do we have here? I'm not really hyped for this revisitation of Animal Farm. Now, it does look nice so far. The character animation is fine as is, but the tone of this one scene doesn't really scream Orwellian to me. Now, this might be wishful thinking, but I really hope we get a little cameo from Britton Hamby, aka the gaming terrorizer, with his famous snorts he does time to time when he laughs too much. I don't know. It would seem a little bit weird getting a cameo from someone who is primarily known as a YouTuber. So I'm not sure if that is going to happen, especially when the cast is pretty much nothing but big name celebrities. And from the looks of it, Wow, I gotta say, I will admit, I am surprised. A lot of you are very optimistic about this adaptation of Animal Farm, in which 82% of you have actually voted yes, you did like that first look of Animal Farm. So a lot of you are a lot more positive than I'll admit I was in this version. But you know what? Hey, maybe, like, honestly, maybe you guys see a lot more of it than I did when I was talking about it, which, you know what? Yeah, and I'll even say, like, I hope the cynicism that I had when seeing that first look, I want it to be proven wrong. Honestly, like, I would love to see another great adaptation of Animal Farm, and, like, I am hoping that maybe there will be more to it than the first clip that we have seen. So, honestly, that, you know, great on you guys. That's awesome. So anyways, let's go and check out more of the comments that we have over here. When it comes to Animal Farm, while I haven't read the book, I have seen the 1954 movie, and I'm a little conflicted. On one hand, Seth Rogen is pretty good as Napoleon, and the animation looks decent, but I will admit that the tone is inconsistent compared to the other adaptations, but we will see. Also, it has some solid casting. I'm happy that Iman Vellani is in this movie, and she's getting more work after her breakout role as Miss Marvel in the MCU. Oh yeah, honestly, it is great to see, like, especially like when you get one person that they would get that one breakout role, like in a major franchise like MCU or Star Wars or whatever, and then suddenly you see their careers just like launch off to the skies. That's honestly a great thing. Say what you will about how Star Wars or Marvel is right now, but one great thing about it is whenever they bring someone new, then they change their whole lives for the better. So, honestly, great on Iman for being a part of this as well. Let's see now. So far, this adaptation looks fine, I guess. I remember me and my friends reading the book when we were in freshman year of high school and made a slideshow about it. I remember liking it a lot and got engaged in the story. We didn't get much out of this first clip, but I'll give it that the animation looks decent and the voice acting sounds pretty good. I'm going to be in a wait and see mood for this. You know what? A great way of putting it, actually. Honestly, I think I might be on the same page as you. I'm going to be more like, maybe I'm not as optimistic as you guys about it, but I will be more in the wait and see. I want my cynicism to be proven wrong here. I do hope that this is a very solid animated feature, but again, we're just going to wait and see with how it goes. All right, I think I'll read 2 more comments and then we'll be good to go. My relationship with Animal Farm is pretty mixed since I also read it in school. I'll be honest, not a fan of the violence. At the time, I thought the metaphorically meant villains won and heroes lost, but it is a better book than something like Lord of the Flies. For the first look, while I rather prefer the 1950s movie, it does look interesting. I'm not saying off the bat it's bad immediately, but it looks like it can be an interesting watch to know about this adaptation. All right. Let's see. This feels like it takes place after the events of Animal Farm. I also see what you mean about it feeling like Pumbaa taking after Scar. Napoleon feels like a toned down version of himself from the original book while still being manipulative. Maybe he's taking a little bit of inspiration from Snowball. I look forward to see how Seth Rogen takes this role, and I'm always looking forward to Andy Serkis. Also, AniMat's, are you ready to test your black card again? Oh boy, okay. I don't know what the test is, but I guess I'm ready. I guess no matter what, like that little test will always go and occur. But anyways, before I go and take on that test, I guess we all have to be ready for the next story. Nothing major, don't worry. But we're going to go and have a little bit of a break, and then we're going to go and actually see a real trailer. But this time, even though it's not animated, it is one of the most anticipated movies that's coming out later this year. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, when it comes to our next story, we do have a trailer that we're going to go and check out. And even though, no, this is not about an animated movie, this is, however, one of the most hyped up sequels that's going to be coming out this November. And no, I'm not talking about Zootopia 2. I'm talking about a highly anticipated movie musical in which, back last November, man, did it turn out to be one of the biggest hits of the year. Not only that, but it also went on to become a major contender at this year's award season, down to the point that it even walked away with some awards for itself. Even I think it won an Oscar or two. It might have. I think it won multiple, because I do remember it won for Best Production Design and Best Costume Design as well. Yes. So from there, though, since it made, and some people are even mentioning maybe it won 3 Oscars, there is a possibility. But rather it be 2 or 3 Oscars, and okay, now some people are even saying 2. The point is, man, did that first movie made a great first impression, but now part 2 is going to be around the corner in the next several months. And a lot of people are anticipating to see the epic conclusion of this story. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out our next trailer here, as we will be looking into Wicked for Good. Dang, dude. And that was Wicked for Good, to which the epic conclusion of this musical adaptation will be coming to theaters on November 21st. Now, I just want to go and start off by saying that, yes, I did see the first part of Wicked, or the movie that technically is called just Wicked. I'll admit that I was late to the party. I think I watched it after the Oscars. But still, though, it is a fantastic movie. Like, when I finally did go and see it, like, it was one of those things that I see everything that's going on, and I was like, so that's what everybody's been talking about. And I do agree. It probably was the best movie musical of 2024. Like, it really is jaw-dropping and so beautifully crafted. Like, now I see how it was able to go and like get those awards. Like, the production design is just absolutely beautiful. The costumes are extravagant as well. But at the same time, the choreography during the musical numbers and even the musical numbers themselves are absolutely phenomenal. But I think like the true shining point of this is Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. Their chemistry and their performances are fantastic. Like, that's what really made this movie and what really made it stand out. I mean, I know Universal had been trying again and again to try to go and get like that Broadway adaptation to go and work, because like they've tried it a few times in the past. They tried it with Les Miserables, and that was like okay at best. They tried it with Cats, and that was an infamous disaster. And now they tried it with Wicked, and finally they got it to work. My one criticism, though, is that with the Wicked movie, my God, it was long. Like, I understand that it was meant to be like this extended version of what we got with the Broadway show, where they would really go deeper into the lore and go deeper into the story and the context of many of the characters, especially with Elphaba being more of an animal activist, which is a little bit different in this case here with the Wicked adaptation, where the animals, like, they used to be like a lot more sentient and intelligent. In fact, like one of the prominent characters in the film is a goat teacher. But still, though, the point that I am making is that, yeah, like I do have my criticism with the fact that it could feel pretty long. In fact, like the first movie is almost as long as the entire Broadway show itself, including the intermission. I mean, like, and the movie itself is supposed to be just a part one. So, yeah, there are times when it can feel like they're really stretching the story. But still, though, I cannot look past that. It definitely is a very well-made movie. And I mean, that Defying Gravity scene was phenomenal. Like that movie ended off on such a jaw-dropping finale. So when I did see this trailer for Wicked for Good, I could see a lot of what made that first movie great, and of course it will be brought back onto here. Now, one thing that I will say, though, is that, well, if you have seen either the Wicked show or if you have seen part one of Wicked, well, it's safe to say that you kind of know how things ultimately end. You know, we already know how the ending is going to occur, and it ain't going to be a Disney-style happy ending. Let's just go and say that. But the thing is that what is very interesting about what we are seeing here with Wicked for Good is that we are also seeing the elements that are actually familiar, because now we're also going to be crossing paths with the story of the Wizard of Oz that we all know. And probably the biggest indicator is one scene in particular where Dorothy and the gang are going to be involved in the story. Like right over here, as you could see, like this is an obvious throwback to the classic 1939 movie, especially with Dorothy being a little bit more taller than a little girl. So yeah, like obviously teenager age, just like Judy Garland was when she played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And not to mention, like, the other characters as well. I mean, with the exception of the Cowardly Lion is, like, a full-on CG lion over here. In fact, we even get, like, a little bit of a closer look. Like, just over here. I mean, like, yeah, it's not like the CG in... or actually... You know what? It kind of is. Like, it does look a little... Like, he does look like he came straight out of the Mufasa movie. Like, just being, you know, just, like... trying to be a realistic lion, but still trying to emote like a person. Like you just see him, like, of course it's the Cowardly Lion, so of course he's scared seeing the presence of the wizard. But what is interesting is when you do look at the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, which is an obvious throwback to the 1939 movie, like pretty much the same aesthetic. And I am kind of curious to see how they are going to look. I mean, with Dorothy, I wouldn't be surprised if they are going to keep her faceless. But I am curious if they're going to go to the same extent with Scarecrow and Tin Man, if they're also going to do that same kind of makeup upon them, or if they're going to go like full-on CG and actually make them look like a Scarecrow and a Tin Man. But I guess ultimately... we'll wait and see when the movie does come out, because I'm sure this is like one of the big surprises that they want to keep within the movie itself, you know, like that element of familiarity. But even though we are seeing some of that, you know, some of that like familiarity brought onto the Wicked story now, in which the, you know, Elphaba story is starting to cross paths with Dorothy's story, I think the one thing for me that I am going to be looking forward to the most in this is how they are going to go and develop Elphaba and Galinda's narrative, or how they're going to go and show their relationship together. Like, I'll admit right now, I haven't seen the original Wicked Broadway show. I haven't listened to any of the music, so I'm kind of like coming in fresh. And what I do know, however, is with the updates, of course, this is going to be like a whole new take on the Wicked show. So, like, in a way, this is still going to be a fresh experience for everyone. But like I said before, the thing that I find to be the best part of the Wicked movie is the relationship between Elphaba and Galinda, with how they started out as rivals, but then slowly but surely they did form a bond and they formed a bit of a friendship. Some people could even say that it is kind of a relationship per se, like legitimately like girlfriend and girlfriend. Like, I do see a lot of that in there, but I guess, for the conservative audiences, you cannot make it that obvious that they're actually a couple. But still, though, when it comes to Elphaba and Galinda, I am curious to see how their relationship is going to be, especially with the fact that now their reputation is now fully established. Like, now we do see Elphaba has fully become the Wicked Witch of the West, and then you got Galinda, who is now going to be officially the Good Witch. And from there, it's going to be fascinating to see how their relationship will still be there. You know, in a way, it's going to be like a forbidden bond where they shouldn't be seen together, but they want to be together. That in a way, they only have each other, despite the fact that their image portrays them as something totally different than their actual personalities. Rather it be Elphaba being all evil or Glinda being all good. So there is that contrast that personally I cannot wait to go and see what they're going to do. And not to mention, of course, when we do add in the wizard himself into the mix, especially when Elphaba's big goal is to go and reveal that the wizard is actually a phony, that he's not almighty as much as people would go and claim that he is. So yeah, there will be that activist-like journey to go and expose him to being a fraud and stuff like that. But then at the same time, like, we do see some scenes in which, of course, Elphaba will be revisiting the wizard, especially like with this part right here.
For a while there, I thought you changed.
So at that point, yeah, there will be some confrontations, but then I did see a moment where, like, I remember, I don't know where it is specifically, but we do see kind of like this reunion, not just of Glinda and Elphaba, but also with the wizard, where they're all together, and even like the big head is out as well. I don't know where you could go and find that in the clip here, but I do recall, like, I do know that is a moment. But but overall, though, I will say that what we have seen so far in this trailer, oh yeah, like, if you're excited to go and check out what's going to be in store with Wicked for Good, like, if you're hoping that it could be on par or exceed your expectations after watching the first Wicked, I think it is definitely going to be met. I think this will be the conclusion that people will be waiting for, especially when the first movie already launched it off to an amazing start. I'm sure with the second one, it will also be doing amazingly as well. So yeah, honestly, alongside Zootopia 2, I'll be looking forward to see what is in store. All I ask is, hopefully it ain't going to be like super long. Hopefully the time length, it won't drag on, or like I won't feel the weight of the time like I did last time. But ultimately, we're going to go and wait and see. And if you are excited to see how Wicked for Good is going to be, then keep in mind that the movie shall be released on November 21st. All right, so with that said, now I would like to go on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, how did you feel when watching the Wicked for Good trailer? Are you guys hyped up for it? Do you have any concerns? Do you think this is going to be great? Do you think it's going to suck? Let me know what you think. In fact, let me go onto the poll right over here, and might as well go and ask you all this question. What can I add? Oh, actually, you know what? Here, I might as well go with this. Will you be watching Wicked for Good? So I'll go write down yes. I'll go and write down no. Let's see what you all have to say here and what you have to say in the chat wall. All right, let's see. The original Wicked was such a fantastic movie and probably the best Broadway film adaptation, and this looks great. Visually, it's gorgeous. Cynthia Everett and Ariana Grande's acting and singing is phenomenal, and it looks like it will give the story a solid conclusion. So overall, I'm excited for this. Also, if this is as good as the original, I guarantee you it will be a contender for award season like the first movie. Oh yeah, I'm definitely expecting that. And you know, honestly, I just had this thought because I actually talked with a good friend of mine and we were actually discussing about Wicked for Good because she was an absolute fan of the first. It's like her new favorite movie right now. And we discuss about like some theories and what's going to happen with the second part with Wicked for Good. And one thing I am also curious about is in regards to Nessa, Elphaba's sister, in which, I don't know if this is like major spoilers, but she did tell me that Nessa is going to become the Wicked Witch of the East, or specifically the Wicked Witch that gets crushed by Dorothy's house. I am going to be curious to see how that is going to develop and how Nessa will have her transformation to become a Wicked Witch, but ultimately, we'll see with how that goes right there. Because that's also another interesting dynamic with Nessa and with Elphaba. I know it's not like as prominent, but I do find she is also a very interesting character in the movie, and I guess technically in the show as well. All right. Let me tell you, my excitement for this movie is through the roof. Wicked was probably my favorite Broadway show, and the first movie, everything I could have wanted from a Wicked movie was present. And now Act 2 is just around the corner. I don't know why I let out my inner Boston there. It's just around the corner. Anyways, to say Cynthia and Ariana understood the assignment is an understatement. So far, their rendition of No Good Deed and For Good sound on point. And trust me, we will need a lot of tissues for later. So safe to say, this is a day one watch for me. Oh, absolutely, dude. All right, let's see what we got here. I have seen this movie back in January, and it's pretty solid despite me not being into musicals. The sequel, From Where I Stand from the trailer, it looks solid. The songs sound good, the acting is still great, the world of Oz still looks beautiful, and can't wait to see how they do the original movie in a different way. It's a movie I am not fully anticipating for, mostly my mom is, but I am curious on seeing how they end this story without me seeing the musical myself. Yeah, I mean, it's always worth a watch. And by the way, already the poll is done in this one, and it's almost unanimous, in which 88% of you who have voted said that you are going to be watching Wicked for Good. So safe to say that the hype is real, and already many of you are going to be anticipating to go and check out this movie. So already good news all around for the feature. All right, let's see what other comments that we have here. Okay, I'll go and read this one. This trailer definitely blows my mind. I have yet to see the movie adaptation, and from what I saw and heard, it is phenomenal. I need to watch it when I can, even though I need to deal with the long running time. When it comes to part 2, it looks really good. The song is amazing, the visuals look so colorful, and it's neat that we saw the Wizard of Oz characters in it. People will definitely sing it in the movie theater when the film premieres. Yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those. Like, I know it was a bit of a controversial thing with everybody singing during the movie and stuff like that. Like, there was a little bit of an uproar that it caused. But you know what? I feel like after the incident that we have seen with the Minecraft movie, I think we can give Wicked fans a pass. Like, singing out loud to the musical numbers, that's perfectly fine. I think that they're cool with it. Or I think we should be cool with it. That's what I mean. Anyways, what else have we got here? Ding dong, the witch is back. And while I haven't seen the original Wicked, this is definitely something to be excited to see. The bond of Glinda and Elphaba might change for the better or for the worse, figuratively speaking. Now the only thing I am hoping for is the Oscar and the Golden Globe Awards. Oh boy, well hold on, dude. I mean, that's going to be until the end of the year. I mean, we haven't even reached the halfway point of 2025. Let's get through this year before we start talking about the award season. All right. Oh, schnut. I think I'm going to sneeze. Hold on a sec. Okay. It's just, I felt like my nostrils were tingling. And it's just from there, like, oh God, is something going to be coming out? So just want to go and avert that little thing. Anyways, well, let's see what other comments are there. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. I remember that my sister called me over telling me about the Wicked movie. She's seen the movie more than 8 times. I was convinced to say, I too really enjoyed the movie. I mean, no surprise since I really love musicals. Granted, I thought 1 or 2 moments were kind of dragging, and not to mention, I hate cliffhangers, but that's my motivation to see the sequel. Also, I really hope it's not a full-on prequel to the 1940s film, or, well, technically 1939. Still, I don't like it with the effects. Okay, that's fair, dude. That's fair. I didn't review the movie yet. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be reviewing literally every movie I've seen. Sometimes I just want to watch the movie just for watching the movie. So, honestly, like if I go and watch Wicked for good, I'll say now, I'm not going to go and actually review it. I just want to go and experience it for myself. In fact, that's honestly a little bit of a tip for people who aspire to be film critics or reviewers. Sometimes it is important to detach yourself from your job and just watch something just to watch it. There is a big difference between watching a movie for the sake of reviewing and then just watching something just for enjoying it. And it's important that you hold on to that factor of just enjoying a movie regardless of what people say on the internet or regardless of what you say in your review, even if you would say like, oh, this movie isn't perfect, but you could still enjoy it on your own basis. So I just want to go and put that out there. So again, that's just a little tip for you who wish to be reviewers and stuff like that, that even though like, yeah, you want to go and watch stuff to go and like talk about it online and express your opinion, but it is also important to never let go of that side to just watch something for the sake of watching something. Let's see now. Any other comment? I'm talking about the Minecraft movie. Oh yeah, like are you expecting a review of the Minecraft movie from me? No, thank you. It ain't freaking happening. I've already talked enough about the Minecraft movie in this podcast. You won't see me reviewing that film in my main channel, so I'm just saying. All right, any other comments? Just want to go and see. Anybody else have anything to say about it? I am considering the first part of the Wicked movie. I even went and heard that the movie is amazing and spectacular. I am shocked that the trailer for the second part, Wicked for the Good, that it's amazing, breathtaking, and the musical is epic. Hope to see this on November along with Zootopia 2. Yeah, honestly, I think this is going to be like what happened back in last November. I think this is going to be something that people are definitely going to do a double feature for. That, like last November, we had Wicked and Moana 2, and both went on to become highly successful. And I think it's going to be the same thing that we're going to see this November, where both Wicked for Good and Zootopia 2 are going to be released, and both are going to be coming out very successful. So I do see that the hype is definitely on for Wicked for Good. So if you are excited to go and check out the movie, then keep in mind once again that it's going to be coming out on November 21st. And with that said, we're going to go on to our next break. And when we come back, I'm actually going to be covering some breaking news. Yes, this is actually news that came out just today. And we got a significant update on what's going to be going on with Warner Brothers. Now, there's going to be a lot of speculation on this, but we will see now that the big split has occurred. All right, welcome back. Now, on our next story that we have here, yes, this is news that actually just happened today, or on the day that I am recording this. Now, as we all know, Warner Brothers is not doing well in terms of their business. Yes, time and time again, I would be discussing it here in my podcast, in which we would go and check out, well, what is pretty much the downfall of Warner Brothers, especially when David Zaslav took over. Their spiral went down faster and faster and faster. And despite all the cost-saving tactics that they would do, even some of the very controversial ones, including doing a bunch of tax write-offs and even neglecting a lot of its animation side, well, now Warner Brothers has entered upon a new chapter where they decided that they're going to do a little bit of a separation from its own assets. Yes, folks, Warner Brothers has announced that they are doing a big split. Yes, Warner Brothers Discovery has announced that they will be dividing itself into two different companies, where you got the main Warner Brothers Discovery, which will be headed by David Zaslav, of course. And then you got another one, which will be called Global Networks, in which it will be run by the chief financial officer of Warner Brothers Discovery, Gunnar Weidenfels. And I'll go and say now that they're still in preparation to make this split happen, and it will officially go and occur in the middle of 2026. Now, what does this mean that now they are going to be doing this split? What is it that these two companies will go and maintain? Well, if we go into my source here on Deadline, there is one little section that actually does clarify what they are going to be maintaining. Now, first, let's go and talk about Warner Brothers Discovery. What they are going to be holding on to is going to be the creative stuff and the streaming service. So they're going to be in charge with making the movies, the TV shows, and they are also going to be working on HBO Max. To which it is stated here, Zaslav's new streaming and studios outfit will consist of Warner Brothers Television, Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group, DC Studios, HBO, and HBO Max, as well as their film and television libraries. So when it comes to their studios, to actually making the movies and actually making the TV shows, as well as handling the streaming service and their collection of movies and shows that they have made in the past, that's all going to belong to Warner Brothers. But as for Global Networks, on the other hand, it will include premier entertainment, sports, and news television brands around the world, including CNN, TNT Sports in the US, and Discovery, top free air channels across Europe, and digital products such as the profitable Discovery Plus streaming service and Bleacher Report. So at that point, Global Networks is going to be handling what Warner Brothers used to handle in terms of the TV networks. So all the stuff like CNN, TNT Sports, Discovery, and even Discovery Plus, now that is going to belong to Global Networks. And there are a couple of quotes that I would like to go and read you here from my source on Deadline. First off, we got one from David Zaslav himself, in which he states here, the cultural significance of this great company and the impactful stories it has brought to life for more than a century have touched countless people all over the world. It's a treasured legacy we will proudly continue in this next chapter of our celebrated history. By operating as two distinct and optimized companies in the future, we are empowering these iconic brands with the sharper focus and strategic flexibility they need to compete most efficiently in today's evolving media landscape. And then we got another quote here coming from the new head of Global Networks, Weidenfels, in which he says, or Weidenfels, sorry. It says here, this separation will invigorate each company by enabling them to leverage their strengths and specific financial profiles. This will also allow each company to pursue important investment opportunities and drive shareholder value. At Global Networks, we will focus on further identifying innovative ways to work with distribution partners to create value for both linear and streaming viewers globally while maximizing our network assets and driving free cash flow. So that's pretty much the main thing that we are seeing here, is that essentially Warner Brothers is going to be completely letting go of all of their TV networks, or at least most of them. We don't know like the full list specifically, and they're going to be handed on to Global Networks. Now, one thing that is important to go and note from all this is that Warner Brothers will not be the only ones who will go and do so, because this is actually going to be a new thing that we are going to be seeing amongst these major companies, where they will soon be dividing themselves from the TV assets, or at least they are going to be less dependent on these TV networks. It even mentioned right over here, let's see, yeah, I'll just go up to here, and it says, on Monday, a bit earlier than many expected, it announced the separation will become an actual split along the lines of what Comcast has underway, spinning out its cable networks from NBC Universal in a seismic reconfiguration of the U.S. media business. So pretty soon, Comcast is going to be doing the same thing, where they are also going to be letting go of their TV networks. So stuff like NBC or MSNBC and all that kind of stuff, they're planning on trying to do the same thing. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear other companies who might try to do a bit of the same. Like maybe we're going to hear Disney maybe separating themselves from ABC and stuff like that. Or maybe like with Paramount as well, considering that now they're going to be owned by, they're going to be owned by Skydance, that maybe they'll want to go and let go of, of CBS and some of the news outlets that they have with that. So this, this isn't exclusively a Warner Brothers problem, but we are going to see more of these companies do this soon, especially with Comcast already planning that. But still, though, it doesn't change that when it comes to Warner Brothers specifically doing so, I think we can already tell what is the intention with this. Now, I will go and clarify right now that I'm not a business expert and I'm just theorizing over here. But when I see Warner Brothers trying to pull off this kind of strategy after the numerous of failures that they have been facing, and I don't necessarily mean like projects. I don't just mean stuff like with Joker for the Adur, for example. I mean like the poor business decisions that Warner Brothers has been doing over recent years, especially from David Zaslav. I think, honestly, when I see this isn't necessarily a split from its TV networks, but I think this is more of a split from some of its debt. Because as we all know, the biggest mission that Warner Brothers has to do right now, and its top priority, is to go and pay off its debt. In fact, just recently I talked about the Bloomberg article about Cartoon Network and discussing about how that channel has been struggling in recent years, especially because of the current state of Cartoon Network right now. And because of that, with Warner Brothers, with how they are, they're still like in billions upon billions of dollars in debt. So they have to go and find ways in order to go and cut corners, in order to go and save up and diminish that debt so that they can actually see Warner Brothers as a profitable company. And from there, this I find that it is a major move, because if we do recall from that Bloomberg article, it actually did state that one of the big things that's been holding it back is actually in regards to the networks, in which they have not been as profitable as they used to be. In fact, in a way, you could say that they're more trouble than they are worth, where channels, not just with like Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, but stuff like TBS, TNT, CNN, and all that kind of stuff, they're not as profitable as what they used to be. In fact, compared to how they were in the last decade, their revenue has taken a massive nosedive. In fact, allow me to repeat what I said last time, but with Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, their revenue went down by 80% compared to how they were back in 2014. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's still going to be going down from there. So, of course, it's the asset of TV networks has become more of a problem for Warner Brothers. So instead of trying to pay off that debt, they rather want to go and completely separate themselves, in which with Warner Brothers, they'll still have their debt, but a lot less than what they had before, because now Global Networks has to go and try to handle the debt of these networks such as Cartoon Network and TBS and TNT and CNN, and not to mention like with like all the Discovery stuff, like with Discovery, with Animal Planet, with TLC, and all that kind of stuff. Like now it's just handled over there. Now, is this really going to help the company? I don't know. Like in fact, I haven't seen any articles that would go into the specifics of how much the debt would be diminished if they decided to completely separate themselves from their TV networks. But at that point, that's honestly something that, at least for me, I cannot help but I look into that news and I feel like that's the reason why. It's all about the money. It's all about trying to pay off the debt. And they decided to completely remove themselves from their debt so that Warner Brothers can still stay afloat while Global Networks can go and do its own thing. In fact, I'm just going to go and say this right now. And I know that maybe this is looking a little bit too far ahead and maybe it's a bit hyperbolic with what I'm going to say, but I cannot help but feel like when it comes to Global Networks, with the current state that it is, it ain't gonna last long. I think really, maybe this is another theory, but I think this is pretty much at the point where with these networks, they're gonna go down one by one. And instead of making it look like this is a massive L for Warner Brothers, they decided to go and completely split it up, like rip off the Band-Aid where they're going to be its own thing, trying to stay afloat while they're going to while they're just going to be focusing on their own business. I would not be surprised if in the next few years, suddenly we will hear like, oh, well, TV is no longer relevant anymore. I guess we're going to go and shut down Global Networks. That could honestly be a major possibility. But with that said, though, since I have already mentioned this a few times, I might as well go and answer the big question of this story here. What about Cartoon Network? What's going to happen to Cartoon Network now that TV networks are going to be fully separate from Warner Brothers Discovery? Especially from the fact that if that were to be the case, then that pretty much means that Cartoon Network is going to be completely separated from David Zaslav. So that might actually be a good thing, right? Well, again, I don't know. Considering that they're already trying to separate themselves from the TV networks, I don't know if this is going to be something that would be beneficial to Cartoon Network, or if this is just going to be like a detriment, that if we are going to see many of those TV networks go down, one of the first is going to be, unfortunately, Cartoon Network. In fact, I'll even say that it is a little bit suspicious that with this article right over here, hold on a sec. I'm just looking into the chat wall. Some have mentioned that maybe Cartoon Network is still going to be a part of Warner Brothers Discovery. I don't know if that would be the case, but maybe. But so far, that's honestly the speculation that I have seen across the internet, or when people would go and discuss about this. and the fate of Cartoon Network. Is it going to stay with Warner Brothers Discovery, or is it going to be with is it now going to be a part of global networks, at least in terms of the TV channel? Because honestly, I'm just going to go and say this. I would not be surprised if maybe in the future, if there is a day that Cartoon Network does shut down, that Warner Brothers is still going to keep the brand of Cartoon Network alive, you know, to associate stuff like the Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Adventure Time, and Steven Universe, that they're all part of the Cartoon Network brand. And meanwhile, the channel itself, well, that thing might be gone. They might let it go because TV channels or TV networks might end up becoming a thing of the past in the distant future. That could be a possibility. But with Cartoon Network, as I was saying, going back to what I was talking about, I got a little bit distracted there. But even in this article, like when they would go and talk about how things are going to be with networks, like now that it's going to be moving to global network with stuff like CNN or TNT Sports or Discovery, like there is no mention of Cartoon Network anywhere. So I guess it's going to be a matter of a wait and see with what's going to happen with Cartoon Network. I mean, we're still in a factor where we're kind of in a wait and see kind of attitude with what's happening with Warner Brothers in general, especially with how things are going. And just today, now they announced that, oh, we're going to be splitting from these assets so that we'll be a bit more of a smaller company and that we'll end up paying less debt for ourselves. You know, like there's all this that's going on. But this is why it's so fascinating to see how things are currently going with Warner Brothers Discovery, with all their tactics of trying to go and cut down costs in order to go and reinvigorate the company, with all the changes that they have done, not to mention just the changes from this year, especially with seeing how they decided to revert back from Max to HBO Max. It just feels like we're just seeing one train wreck after another, and all these poor decisions just make things worse and worse and worse. And is this split going to help Warner Brothers Discovery? Honestly, it's something that only time will tell. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if this does come out as like a failed attempt and things are about to get worse for Warner Brothers from there. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. I just figured that with this news coming out, it would be an interesting piece of discussion to go and bring up. All right, so with that said, now I would like to go onto the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what did you think of the Warner Brothers split that they have done now that we got Warner Brothers Discovery and global networks? Do you think this is actually going to help out Warner Brothers' case? Do you think that things are going to get better now that they decided to let go of their TV networks? Or are things about to get worse with Warner Brothers? And this is just another prominent example of how the company is failing hard. So let me know what you all think, and what is your take on this news? All right, so let's see what we got here. I heard Zaslav's contract expires in 2027. He might leave then. I don't know, honestly. At this point, we're just going to have to wait and see with how things are with Warner Brothers, first and foremost. And if he decides to leave, I mean, maybe, but at this point, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it would be either or, because again, the only people who actually do like David Zaslav are the people that he surrounded himself with, like the board of directors and stuff like that. The people who would have the power to fire David Zaslav, but they wouldn't. Let's see here. This really is ridiculous. Ever since Discovery fully merged with Warner Brothers and Zaslav took over, he made things worse, and you can absolutely tell this is just a way to get rid of their debt. This really proves how much of a disaster this merger was from the start. Honestly, I'm wondering what's going to be Cartoon Network's fate, considering how Warner Brothers doesn't care about it, and with how much it's been struggling, it has me concerned. Oh, trust me, I think every animation fan is concerned about what's happening with Cartoon Network, so we'll just have to wait and see. All right, so let's see. So basically, this solves nothing. It's just that Zaslav has less of a company to destroy, while some other guy destroys the rest of their assets. Cool. I knew this would be too good to be true. Hollow victory doesn't begin to describe this. Like you said, global networks probably won't last more than a decade. It's painfully obvious Cartoon Network won't. Yeah, sadly true there, dude. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is definitely another mess made by the greatest animation fan of all time, David Zaslav. In all seriousness, I think this split is something I'll try to be cautiously optimistic, but then again, it still is Warner Brothers Discovery. Anything that can go wrong with this will go wrong no matter what they do. I just hope Cartoon Network Studios in particular will be fine at the very least, but the channel on the other hand, I'm scared for it. That's all I could say about it. Perfectly fair, dude. I completely understand what you're saying here. I'll be honest, I feel bad for all of the people working for these networks since they're not doing so well. And I do hope that they can keep their jobs, and I hope that these networks stay afloat. However, in the case of Cartoon Network, it's, in my opinion, if they are going to be separated from Warner Brothers, maybe they could go independent and run their own business. That could be a strong decision since indie animation is on the rise. No, okay. Honestly, this is just another idea of how... Honestly, this just feels like... I'm sorry to say this, but I have to disagree with you, dude. This just feels like another... it's just another part of the big lie that animation fans tell themselves, that apparently going independent is the way to go, but that's not the case. That's not how life works, unfortunately. And I don't think Cartoon Network has the power to be independent from Warner Brothers in this case. It's not like they'll just decide to just completely separate themselves and somehow things are going to be better because now they're considered as independent. It ain't gonna work that way, unfortunately. So no, I don't think that's going to happen. And like, yeah, say what you will with independent films, or like independent animation. It's like, oh, it's on the rise. It's not on a big rise as you may think, honestly. Again, I just feel like that's just part of the big lie that animation fans have to tell themselves. I might get backlash for saying this, but I mean, someone's got to say it. Someone has to go and burst that bubble to wake people up into reality. Let's see what else we got here. It's another day that Warner Brothers is splitting assets from the main part because of debt. But I wouldn't be surprised if Zaslav is bored and decided to shake things the hell up for all we know. This is a stupid idea and this will solve nothing and might even cause more debt than fixing it. Maybe, dude. I mean, like, really, it's not like the debt actually got paid. If anything, if it's true of what my theory of, like, they're doing this for the debt is true, then in that case, they're just pretty much dividing the debt. That's the thing. It's just now Zaslav doesn't have to pay as much billions compared to what he used to because of all those TV networks. Let's see what other comments to go and read. Let's see now. Let's see. Okay, yeah. It's another... no, wait. I just read that. What the fridge? Sorry about that. Let's see. I think I'll read one. Okay, I think I'll just go with... let's see. Did I? Oh, I don't think I've read this one, actually. All right, let's go with this. I will say I'm very happy that both Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers and Discovery are having a divorce. Well, technically, it's not really that, but the merger has been a big disaster since the very beginning back in 2021. This is one of the worst mergers of all time since the whole Warner Brothers America Online merger back in the year 2000. I have one request. Kick Zaslav out of the house. That's all I want. Since you mentioned Cartoon Network, have you seen their social media account making savage replies to their users? Oh, yeah. Honestly, I actually did see that on social media. Honestly, it's been hilarious. Basically, for those of you who don't know, the Cartoon Network social media account it is known for being very progressive. And as you can imagine, during Pride Month, they are doing a lot of posts supporting the LGBTQ plus community. And from there, you can imagine that there's been a bunch of bigots that would go and express their distaste, to put it nicely. So whenever there is a homophobic comment that would be put on there trying to condemn Warner Brothers for, being Christians and supporting the LGBTQ plus community, then in that regard, did I say Warner Brothers again? But no. But anyways, whenever the trolls would go and make homophobic comments, then Cartoon Network would go and just not hesitate to call them out. So yeah, I have seen them, and it's been pretty wild and hilarious. But anyways, that should do it for this story. So we're gonna go on to another break. And when we do come back, well, I know there's been a lot of hate for David Zaslav, but on our next story, there have been two people out there whom I think it is safe to say are much worse than Zaslav. And not only that, but my God, during the weekend, they caused quite a stir with their feud. So stay tuned for that story. All right, now on our next story, we're going to go into the opposite of cartoons, and we will be discussing about some real world stuff. However, this is absolutely part of the crazy here. In fact, some could say that it was one of the craziest moments of the year so far, especially when you would say that they would have two of the most powerful people on Earth suddenly decided to turn on each other and have a little bit of an online feud going on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the online brawl of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Yes, the moment finally arrived in which Donald Trump and Elon Musk decided to go and fight amongst each other, that they heavily disagree on certain things, and from there, they really went on the attacks towards each other. So, what happened in this case? Where did things go wrong in the bromance of Donald Trump and Elon Musk? Well, the thing that happened, or what initiated this whole fight, is actually because of the big, beautiful bill. Now, for those of you who don't know, Republicans are trying to go and release something that is called the Big, Beautiful Bill, which is meant to go and actually change things up in the American system. It is noted to be highly controversial and even unpopular, especially with some of the things that they are taking away from Americans, such as removing Medicare for not just thousands, but millions of Americans. So that's one particular part over there that makes this bill pretty dangerous, not to mention the elements in which it would give a lot of tax cuts to the rich while putting in more debt onto the country. In fact, it would include trillions of dollars of debt onto the country. So in a way, it's a bill that would make the rich richer and the poor poorer. So from there, one of the people who did not like this bill is actually Elon Musk. And he was actually very openly critical about it because of how it would harm his businesses, such as Tesla, Twitter, SpaceX, and some of the others as well. So he would go and openly criticize it and demand Donald Trump to make some massive changes so that it would make it better for him. But Trump disagrees, and he did not want to go and do so. And as you can imagine, with these two types of narcissists, it would go and heavily escalate to the point where they would go and, for that moment, become massive enemies, that they would go and fight amongst each other and just not hold back on the insults and the attacks that they would throw amongst each other. And some of the examples that I would go and bring up is that on Elon Musk's side, he would go and really go after Donald Trump, trying to go and say that it's because of him why he has been elected as president again. In fact, on my source here on the BBC, there's even one part. Yeah, this is a tweet that he has done on Twitter where he would go and actually say, without me, Donald Trump would have lost the election, Dems would control the House, and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude. And on top of that, he even put out a bit of a bombshell, as he would go and put it, where he even stated that the reason why the Epstein files have not been released to the public is because Donald Trump is prominently in it. Apparently, he is a key player in the Epstein files, presented again and again, doing some of the horrible things on Epstein Island with Jeffrey Epstein. And the only reason he hasn't officially released it to the public is because, well, he doesn't want to be perceived as a pedophile. But then you also got Donald Trump, whom he responded back with his own attacks towards Elon Musk, in which he would go and call him an insane drug addict, that he's always just high on drugs every time he would be working with him and stuff like that, and even made his own posts on Truth Social, in which he stated here, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. And not only that, but even some Trump aides have sided with Trump, and they want to take action against Elon. In fact, one notorious Trump minion and well-known white supremacist, Steve Bannon, he always hated Elon Musk since the very beginning. So from there, he actually stated that there needs to be an investigation on Elon Musk's immigration status, considering that it is well known now in which Elon Musk came to the US with a student visa. And since then, the legality of Elon Musk's status in the US, it's very much questionable that there is a possibility that he might be an undocumented migrant, or in the Republican terms, an illegal alien, which is why they are asking for Elon Musk to be deported from the US, maybe even be sent in the same camps that they throw people of color into. So from there, it's just this insane brawl that we have seen. And honestly, I think it is safe to say that most people have seen coming. Like, you don't even have to be familiar with politics in the first place to know that this was inevitably about to happen. Now, pardon my language, but that's kind of the big consequence when you would go and have a government led by selfish assholes who only care about themselves. It's the fact that they're selfish assholes who only care about themselves. They don't care about the people who help elect them. They don't care about the people beside them. They only put their self-interest first. And with Elon Musk and Donald Trump, you cannot be any more egotistical and narcissistic than both of them. And it was eventually going to happen that the two would go and turn on each other, and they would be in a massive brawl, putting Trump supporters in a very uncomfortable spot where they would have to choose if they were either on Team Elon or on Team Musk. So yeah, and honestly, honestly, there was a part of me that was hoping that this could happen, because this is honestly a key factor that could help really take down the Republican government, or really take down the Trump administration. It's basically let them implode from within. But honestly, what's even crazier is that you got to keep in mind that we're still technically in the beginning of Trump's second term. We're only 4.5 months in. If we factor in the fact that this started back in January 20th or something like that, it's been around just 4.5 months that Trump has been president, and Elon Musk has been his buddy during that whole time. And then suddenly we see this major split suddenly go and occur. But the funny thing is that with the attacks that Donald Trump and Elon Musk has done, these are things that honestly, yeah, they're very damaging to the people they want to attack, but they're also hurting themselves in the process. Like, if we take a look at Elon Musk with the things that he has been saying, like, number one, the comment that he has made that it's because of him that Donald Trump won the election. Did he just admit that he actually manipulated America's democracy to make it be favorable for his choice? Like, did he actually did he admit to rigging the election? Like, that's honestly something that should sound the alarms right there. And not to mention, there's also the factor that Elon Musk would go and say that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Well, if that's the case, then, or if that's the case, and if this is true, by the way, because technically these are still allegations, did Elon Musk admit that he had been cool with working with a pedophile this whole time? Or he's okay with letting a pedophile become the president of the United States during the whole time he had been working with him? Like, that is some serious concerns. Like, only now, when Trump is, like, not doing you a favor, that you decide to let out that piece of information. Like that right there is also extremely problematic with his morals. I mean, it's notorious that when it comes to white nationalists, they're more comfortable with pedophiles than the rest of the world. But still, though, in this case, that should be something that should go and sound the alarms. But then again, there is also Donald Trump, whom, yeah, the things that he would go and attack Elon Musk for, that's also some serious concerns. Because the thing with Trump, when he said that Elon Musk is like this insane drug addict, then why did you let him work with you during this whole time? Or better yet, you knew that he was an insane drug addict, and yet you still let him do that whole Doge nonsense and trying to take everybody's data and social security and stuff like that? You allowed an insane drug addict to do all these things and let Elon take massive control over a lot of American lives right there? Like, that's honestly a serious concern. And this is why, when you really do think about it, this is an aspect that really reflects how problematic it is, and not to mention how corrupt America is right now. Because if America really is a competent country, if they actually do know what they are doing, and if America really is the country for the people, then there should be some serious investigations going on, like some serious independent investigations to happen on both allegations of what Trump and Elon is saying. Because if it is true with what Trump is saying about Elon, that he's just like this deranged drug addict, and maybe his legal status as an immigrant is questionable, then yes, that should actually be looked upon. And even in the case with Donald Trump, if the things of what Elon is saying is true, then yeah, we need to actually be discussing more about the Epstein files. And not to mention, on Elon's case, there should be an investigation if Elon did tamper with democracy to let Donald Trump win, because again, he attacked one of America's core values, and that should be something that shouldn't be left like scot-free. You know what I mean? And that's honestly the unfortunate reality that we are seeing right now with this case. It's the fact that with Donald Trump and Elon Musk, sadly, with how things are in America, they might unfortunately get away with it. And even right now, this feud is starting to go and temper down, because Elon is starting to get back on trying to be on Donald Trump's good terms. Like, just today, Elon Musk has been making posts trying to support Donald Trump with his actions and stuff like that. And even right now with Trump, like, the focus is now just exclusively with the ICE attacks on Los Angeles. The way that Donald Trump is desperately trying to make the people of Los Angeles look evil and trying to justify bringing in 2,000 troops onto that area so that he wants to go and push his whole narrative about like evil immigrants and all that kind of nonsense, which honestly, that is also a factor that reflects very negatively upon Trump supporters, because the truth of the matter is they know very well that there is a likelihood that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. They know very well there is that chance that maybe Donald Trump is a pedophile, but they would let him do whatever he wants because Donald Trump makes them feel good about being racist, about emboldening their xenophobia, their anti-Semitism, their homophobia, their racism, and all that kind of stuff. Which honestly, this is why being a Trump supporter is problematic and is something that it deserves to have people canceled for. And it's especially the fact that if it does turn out to be true that Trump is a pedophile, then it honestly explains a lot about the behavior of Trump supporters where they're perfectly okay with it. Like, if you're okay with Donald Trump being in the Epstein files, that means you're okay with pedophilia. But I will say this though. And actually going back into the whole Los Angeles thing, the thing is there's a lot of reasons why this is happening right now with the ICE raid, with the ICE raids and the ICE police attacking innocent bystanders in Los Angeles and the peaceful protesters as well. Like, there's a lot of factors. It's enabling fascism in America, enabling white nationalism, and to make Donald Trump like the American equivalent of Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un and stuff like that. But a major reason is also to make it a distraction, to make people forget about the allegations that Elon Musk has made that he is in the Epstein files. And that's honestly something that we should not let go of. In fact, it's funny that whenever Republicans talk about the Epstein files, they only focus on the possible Democrats who might be in there, like Bill Clinton or Bill Gates, for example. And it's honestly funny because, okay, if Trump is refusing to go and release the Epstein files, does that mean that Donald Trump is defending Bill Clinton? I think that should be the big question that Trump supporters should be asked right now. Why is Donald Trump defending Bill Clinton? I'm just saying. If he were, then he would gladly go and release the Epstein files, like plain and simple right there. But because he wants to defend himself and Bill Clinton, he wants to keep the Epstein files a secret. But yeah, honestly, I just want to go and mention this because, like, seeing that stupid feud to go and happen, and now it looks like things are going to die down and we won't see much consequences occur, even though there have been some bombshell reveals about both Trump and Musk. This is the reason why most of the world is leaning more towards the left, because they don't want to be like America. This is why whenever we would hear major news about elections that are happening in prominent countries around the world, they end up voting for either a liberal party or a party that is more in the center left, which is exactly what happened in my home country in Canada. For the longest time, conservatives were ready to go and dominate the government. Like, it would be full-on conservative party through and through, winning like in a vast majority. But then suddenly, when Donald Trump entered the picture and he made all this threat about making Canada the 51st state, and when we saw the big switch amongst liberal leaders from Justin Trudeau to Mark Carney, that's when action was taken. That's when we Canadians have really come to our senses, and we ultimately went to go and elect Mark Carney to go and lead Canada and to even make the Liberal Party almost a majority. Like, they were, like, honestly, they were just a few seats away to be considered a majority. So it was a major win, a massive tide that has massively changed. And a big part of it is because of the negative influence of Donald Trump. So yeah, honestly, as wild as it was when it happened during the weekend, it's honestly, I know that I did see a video in which Corey of Double Toasted, like, he also talked about this. I highly recommend you go and check out what he had to say about this as well. But I do agree with his statement that as fun as it was back then, this is not really a laughing matter. And it really shows the awful, terrible state that America is right now. It's another prominent example why saying that America is great is a massive lie. And with people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk leading the way, especially with such anti-American values like white nationalism being enabled again and again, then honestly, being an American is something to unfortunately be ashamed about. It's not that, and I'm not blaming the people themselves. It's in regards to the bigotry that is being enabled by these leaders. If they are actually competent, then Americans would be scared to be openly racist, and that they would be scared not to say that gay rights matter, that gay rights are human rights, or trans rights are human rights, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just want to go and mention this right now to not forget about the allegations that have been said by both Elon and Trump, that Elon might have rigged the election, that Elon might be an insane drug addict, that Donald Trump might be in the Epstein files and stuff like that. So just thought I would go and make a comment on it. But anyways, with that said, now I would like to go on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the Trump and Musk feud? How do you feel about this entire crazy situation? Especially if you're in the US, I would like to know your thoughts on that. Let's see. What do we have here? Honestly, this is really insane. I mean, with how America is run by incompetent idiots, I'll admit it was entertaining seeing them fight each other. But honestly, with some of the stuff they have done, it really does prove why the world hates America and we deserve it. Honestly, I don't care anymore. It makes me angry to the point that both Trump and Musk deserve to have the Luigi Mangione treatment. Yeah, I don't blame you, because like at this point, with the fact that now they like with this feud, it shows that they are openly admitting that that they could go and get away with whatever they want, that somehow they're above the law, and that they could go and like cheat their way to go and do whatever they want and get whatever they want, and there wouldn't be consequences. It's times like this that, yeah, like, we need another Luigi Mangione in our lives, and that this is, it's not about culture wars. We really are living in a class war. It's just that there are many others who don't realize that reality because their bigotry and prejudice upon others are just blinding them. Let's see. I honestly have seen this coming. I have honestly seen this coming, but that is fast within the first 6 months. That's definitely a new low for the felon and his ex. I think we seriously need an investigation on both of them. Trump being accused of being a pedo won't be a surprising thing at this point. I hope Elon does get deported. We as Real America do support immigration and the protests. As a Californian, this is heartbreaking. LA is like a second home to me. I feel like I fit in with the community there, and also with the animators. Yeah, I do understand that. But one thing that I do want to say, by the way, is that I also would not be surprised if what Elon says about Trump being in the Epstein files, maybe it might not be true at all. And this is not defending Trump. It's just that one thing you do got to keep in mind is that it's Elon Musk. And Elon is notorious for calling anyone and everyone who inconvenienced him as a pedophile. Like, there was a prominent example. You probably remember when there were these I think it was like these miners that ended up getting stuck somewhere, or these divers, and that Elon suggested an idea to use his equipment to go and help out. But then others stepped in and actually took action to go and help them. And Elon went to go and attack those people by saying, oh, they're pedophiles. So that's the thing, is that whenever Elon is upset and whenever he doesn't like someone, one of the most common words he would go and throw out is pedophile. So in that regards, you would have to take what Elon says with a grain of salt. I know it's very credible if Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, but if Elon Musk says it, it's only fair to raise some questions. That's all I'm saying. Let's see what else we got here. Elon Musk had everything he could ever want: infinite money, worldwide fame, the respect of his peers, and he decided to piss it all away by aligning with the alt-right just because he had a trans daughter. As somebody who hates both those assholes, I'm glad to see Trump and Musk turn on each other, but the Tesla stockholders and board of directors aren't. If this war of betrayal continues long enough, it might save America from Trump's stupidity. And as an American, America does suck. Yeah, and that's also another big consequence, is that apparently it's been harming both of those businesses badly. It was reported with Elon Musk. During that day, he actually lost like billions of dollars. It was reported, I think, like around $150 billion that he lost, including 17% of Tesla shares just going down the drain. And even Trump's meme coin, which I think he calls like Trump coin or something, that ended up losing a value of $250 million because of this entire feud. And even though, unfortunately, Elon is trying to go and be on Trump's good terms because, well, Trump does have power as the president. And yeah, he could have the power to go and deport Elon Musk and take away his rights and his protections and stuff like that. So that's why Elon is trying to win Trump back. But still, though, it's been insane. Let's see what other comments are there. Let's see. I think I did read that one. I will openly confess that I'm never a huge fan of politics due to my mental health, but honestly, when it comes to this public feud, I won't deny that I burst out laughing at the whole brawl. The fact that Elon is now turning against Trump is so wild, and I enjoy the chaos. Have you seen someone reacting to Mordatweet meme, but with Trump and Musk? Honestly, I don't think I have. I'm not as familiar with what you're talking about. Sorry. Let's see what other comments. I think I'll just go with a couple more, and then we're gonna go on to our next break. Honestly, it was crazy. I mean, I was eating popcorn to it, but it is also sad that I live in a world that rich narcissists who think they're God's gift to humanity duke it out just in an ugly, just in a way that it is ugly. I'm kind of glad I live in Canada, so I don't have to deal with whatever the hell this is. Exactly, my dude, man. Canadians all the way, yo. Anyways, the feud between Elon and Trump is just ridiculous and sad. And from Elon alleging that he helped Trump win the election to Trump being accused of being the P word, it's pretty obvious that there won't be any winners in this feud. Honestly, as an American, I really feel sorry for all the people who live in the US with me, since these two idiots are ruining our country. Yeah, I completely understand. And I mean, again, it's not the people's fault. It's the white nationalists and the rich elites that are ruining the country. So I do understand that. All right, so with that said, we're going to go on to one more break. And when we do return, we are going to go on to the grand finale. And with this one, oh boy, did I save the biggest story for last, because we are going to go and answer possibly the biggest question that the cartoon community has right now. Is the Saberspark controversy over? Well, we will find out after this. And now, everyone, it is now time that we are going to go and conclude this episode off with the grand finale. And with this finale, we are going to go back into what is possibly the biggest controversy in the history of the cartoon community, the Saberspark controversy. Now, in order to go and make a quick recap about it, for those of you who don't know, there is a person on Twitter who accused Saberspark of sexual assault. In fact, committing sexual assault twice in 2012. And from there, they stated also that they would go more into detail, or that they would go and prominently display that, not just on Twitter, but also give it a platform through a video by I Love Kim Possible a Lot. However, that video turned out to be a complete disaster, already labeled as one of the worst videos of the year, or possibly one of the worst YouTube videos out there. It's one of the dumbest ways that you could go and try to call out someone, especially for such a serious crime. So I think it is safe to say with I love Kim Possible a lot, or KP as she is often referred to, and another assistant of that video, which is the social media account Brony Fan Don't. Their online careers are pretty much over at this point. However, when it comes to the question in regards if Saberspark actually did so, because he did create a video not long afterwards responding to the whole controversy, in which he stated that he didn't do it and that it was pretty much a massive hit piece against him that KP was doing. So a lot of people have been wondering, did Saberspark actually do so? Because that's always been the big mystery. Well, there was one video that actually was released like just after I live streamed the last episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And this is actually brought to us by none other than the mysterious Mr. Enter. Yes, Mr. Enter created a video in which he called the worst YouTuber takedown of all time. And from there, the best way to go and describe it is that Mr. Enter created a video what KP should have done. Like, basically, this is the video that KP should have created, in which Mr. Enter addressed everything about the controversy. Primarily, if Saberspark actually did do the crimes that he was accused of doing so. And he looked upon everything. So not only did he look into that, but he also talked about, of course, the KP video itself and looked more into how much that thing was just a massive disaster. He also took the time to go and actually talk to the accuser, which is an actual person, by the way, and the identity of the accuser is actually revealed, in which it is Emily Jones, whom on the internet she is known as Emu Emmy. And she used to be a prominent figure in the Brony community, but now she leans a lot more in the Sonic community. And on top of that, along with this video that he has created, he also has a separate video in which it is a 3.5 hour talk, basically a full-on interview with Enter and his team talking to Emily Jones. And this really goes into everything about her, not just in regards to the allegations that she has made against Saberspark, but also in regards to her own controversies as well. She has the time to go and explain herself about some of the things that the internet has called her out on. So there is that. And I mean, like, with the combination of this and the original video, like, yeah, it's a lot of hours to go through, but these hours are absolutely worth it. But on top of all that, with the KP video, with Saberspark's allegation, with Emily Jones, he also did mention some of the other factors that are in this controversy as well. He did also address in regards to the Black Griffin controversy, because whenever people talk about Saberspark, one thing that they would say about why he should be criticized or why they don't like him is because Saberspark is a defender of Black Griffin, in which he was a prominent member of the Brony community, and he was accused of grooming the voice of Sweetie Belle to eventually become his wife. However, we'll get into that a little bit later, because like that's a whole thing in itself right there. And on top of that, Mr. Enter also addressed some of the other controversies related to some of these people, like with KP, Black Griffin, and of course with Saberspark. So this is a video in which Mr. Enter left no stones unturned, and he really went deep into everything, especially in terms of the allegation, really going into it bit by bit to see if there is any actual truth upon the matter. So with all that said, can we go and answer the big question in all this? Is Saberspark innocent or is Saberspark guilty? And the truth is, we don't know. There is no actual conclusion to that big question right there. The most that Mr. Enter has found is just in regards to the location. Like, at best, that Mr. Enter has stated is that it is not impossible that Saberspark might have actually done this to Emily, because the most that he could find is that, yes, he was actually there at both locations in which Emily stated that he sexually assaulted her, which was a My Little Pony convention in Ohio, I believe. I forgot the name. And also in EQLA. And he and his team really did dive deep into it to see if there can be some actual evidence to what she would go and say. But unfortunately, because of the fact that the only piece of evidence or the only thing they can go with is just that testimony that Emily has done on Twitter, then that's pretty much it. That's all that's all that they could go and actually find. And again, the most that they could go and gather is that, yes, he was actually there, but there's no further evidence if they would go and see if there would actually be those cases if Saberspark did actually commit those actions. And from there, he also did talk about some of the other things as well. Of course, like with KP, for example, like really going more into the video. And I just gotta say, I think honestly, guys, like I know that I was soft on KP at the start of this whole controversy and stuff like that, but I'm not gonna lie, the more that's been revealed about this video, the more that we look deeper into this, the more that we find that it is more and more of an absolute travesty, that it's just a complete train wreck. And the way that KP handled it was absolutely horrible. I think I'm done with KP, honestly. Like I'm gonna have to cut ties with her. And on top of the fact that, yeah, and like I know I've done some collaborations with her, but I think after this I'm gonna go and unlist them. So yeah, I'm starting to actually consider to go and like distance myself from her. I think I got to go and take action. And this is not even to mention about the about some of the other controversies related to KP, because there have been allegations of her like poorly treating her editors and her team, and especially the way that we have seen how KP even treated Emily, especially with that threat, which is kind of ironic that she used that Dr. Eggman joke in her video, because the way that she threatened Emily, it sounded like Eggman, honestly. It's like, you could either be noble about it, or you could be a coward. You put me into this mess, and now you need to go and fix it. You have 24 hours. Just that total nonsense right there. But yeah, honestly, I'm gonna have to distance myself with KP on that one. Yeah, she screwed up, but I did not expect that she screwed up this bad. And just when you think like it couldn't get worse, the more you learn about it, the worse that it really is on that thing. But then, of course, there is also the factor with Black Griffin. And with Black Griffin, now, I've already mentioned about like what he has been accused of, but Mr. Enter did also dive deep into this. And you know what? At this point, it's also worth noting that I know very well that Mr. Enter is not the only person who created a video about this. There have been a few ever since the infamous KP video came out. And another prominent example is from the YouTuber Cope and Seethe. And even Enter did state that he was aware of what Beckett was doing and that they did collaborate with each other. And if you do look at that Cope and Seethe video, there are going to be some parallels that they have stated, but also some unique elements to it as well, in which they also discuss about the Black Griffin controversy and even got to talk to Black Griffin's wife, Claire, about the whole matter. And she even stated that she does not feel groomed about the entire situation. So the truth of the matter, at least according to Mr. Enter, is that all this is just allegations, even though, yeah, like a lot of people would go and state like, oh, this is why Black Griffin is a groomer. This is why he's a bad person. This and this and this. A lot of these, like when it comes to the real crime that he is accused of, technically those two are allegations. But at the same time, however, one thing that is confirmed through his research is that he is a creep. Is that even though there's not actual proof that he did groom Claire, there are some evidence in which he was being a creep and made some inappropriate comments towards teenage girls and some minors online. So in that regards, that's why in the case of Black Griffin, his reputation, like, it really is shaky. And because of the factor that he is a creep, it does make the allegations feel a bit more credible and why many others have grown distance to them. But when it comes to Saberspark, on the other hand, that's another major thing that Mr. Enter actually criticized Saberspark on, is it's not only the factor that he defended Black Griffin. It's like, okay, that's one thing to go and defend, but it's also the way that he brought up Black Griffin onto his response video. And that's another thing I forgot to go and mention, is that Mr. Enter did also comment on the response video, and that even though I said that it was well done, he would most likely disagree, because yeah, there's a lot of holes that he found on that video and a lot of screw ups that did end up making Saber look bad at the end of the day. So yeah, like honestly, I do understand where Mr. Enter is coming from, where yeah, Saber has dropped the ball for bringing up Black Griffin amongst his controversy right there. So that's like a whole mess in its entirety. But again, it's worth watching Mr. Enter's video and Copen C's video to learn more about what's been going on with the whole Black Griffin controversy right there. But then also, there is another thing that I do want to bring up. One thing that I want to say is my criticism with the Mr. Enter video. Now, I will admit, I'm not going to say that I do agree with him with literally everything that he has said in the video. There are some comments that honestly, like, yeah, I don't agree with it, but they're relatively minor and they have nothing to do with the whole thing on what the main subject is about. Like, yeah, like, I don't think it's necessary for him to do that comment on Blue Sky, especially when he's not on Blue Sky. But still though, that's not what's important. But if there is one piece of criticism that I do have to say that I don't agree with Mr. Enter on, is how he keeps bringing up the notion that somehow Saberspark might go and sue KP and Bonk of Brony Fan Don't. That somehow, eventually down the line, that Saberspark wants to go and wants to go and file a defamation suit against those two because of that video. And I'm just gonna say, I don't think that's really going to happen. Like, maybe there might be a chance that he would go and do so. Honestly, I don't really know. I'm not in Saber's mind on what he wants to do, but based on what I've seen with how Saber's been acting and stuff like that, I think a lawsuit would be the least of his concerns. I think the priority that Saber has right now is that he wants to go and move on. Especially, I did see, by the way, that he did put out a message to his patrons, and to make a long story short of that, he did state that he wants to primarily move on and try to update his image so that he can go and be more positive towards animation and towards the animation industry. So from there, I highly doubt if doing a lawsuit and trying to go and prolong this controversy would be on his mind, especially with the fact that in his response video, he refused to go and acknowledge anything that's actually been said in the accusation itself. So if he doesn't want to do that in his response video, I highly doubt that he would want to go and address the allegations in front of a judge and jury. That would be too big of a risk for him in order to go and do so. And especially with the fact that with the response video, say what you will about it, but it did manage to work well in his favor. It did manage to go and convince thousands of people that he might actually be innocent. And it led to people to go and connect the dots themselves that, oh, maybe it's just something that KP might have made up and that Saberspark is innocent. So at that point, I think Saber would much rather go and cash out when he can, to go and take the wins as much as he could so that he can move on from it and for the whole internet to go and move on from it. Again, maybe I'm wrong and maybe Saber is planning to go and do a defamation suit, but in my opinion, I highly doubt that this would go and do so. So in that regards, overall with this whole thing, I gotta say, like, on Mr. Enter's efforts on trying to do this whole thing, I absolutely applaud him for what he has done with this. Honestly, this was a task that I myself thought at one point maybe I should try to go and do and ultimately answer the question and see, like, what is the actual case over here. But honestly, with everything he did, it's honestly a great work and probably one of his best videos that he has done in recent years. Now, I know that I have been critical of Mr. Enter in the past, and I wasn't hesitate to go and call him out on some of the stupid things that he has said and done in the past, especially with his comments in regards to masks and with what I think, like, he took a bit of like this anti-vaccine stance or like spreaded some anti-vaccine conspiracies or his comments on Medicare and stuff like that. Like, I hope that he has grown from it, but from what I've seen so far, he did grow as a video maker ever since. That he has definitely become a lot better than how people have perceived him as the turning red 9/11 guy. And honestly, with the amount of competence that he has shown, and not to mention the professionalism with how he has gone down into a lot of the details about the controversy and trying his best to go and answer the question. I mean, I understand it is not an easy task as well, and he failed to go and actually answer that question, but that's perfectly fine. The point is that he was able to do the best that he could. And I think that is something that he deserves great merit for. I think, like, honestly, yeah. And again, there have been others who did the same thing, and I do applaud their efforts, like Beckett of Cope and Seethe. But in Mr. Enter's part, honestly, I applaud him not just for the video, but also the growth that he has done as a video maker. So honestly, good on you, dude. Here, I'm going to go a little extra on this. So here, I'm just going to go and add this little extra applause for him. But to go back for a sec in regards to the whole controversy itself, can we say that the Saberspark controversy is officially over? At least in my opinion, I would honestly say maybe for now. Like, honestly, what else can you go and say at this point? Because when you have YouTubers like Cope and Seethe and Mr. Enter doing the most that they could find to go and dissect with everything that is publicly known right now, I don't know what would be the next step of this entire controversy. I don't know what's going to be the next thing that's going to occur. And as it currently stands, I think that, honestly, we've done the most that we could with the whole thing with Saberspark. And honestly, maybe the next thing we would have to do is just move on until we learn a new piece of information. Like, the only way that I can imagine at this point that it would continue is if Emily does find more evidence that Saberspark might have actually done this, or if there's another victim that would step up and say that they were sexually assaulted by Saberspark as well. Because when it comes to these people who would commit those crimes of preying on innocent girls and sexually assault them and stuff like that, It's never usually a one-time thing. And we have seen this with many other creeps as well, with people like Vic Mignogna or John Cristofalusi, for example, or Chris Savino. It's never just one person. They would go after multiple girls throughout the years. But in this case over here, however, the fact that we only know about 2 instances that happened to one girl back in 2012, it's not necessarily enough to actually reach an official verdict in regards to Saberspark. And what you want to do with the guy, that's entirely up to you at this point. If you still want to support Saberspark, mainly because there's not enough evidence to prove if he actually did do it, then I understand. If you rather want to distance yourself from Saberspark because technically there's no definitive answer if he didn't do it, then I understand that as well. Honestly, it's just a matter of like, we would have to wait and see if there is anything more to this controversy, or if there is more evidence that can prove like any updates on the matter, if Saber would actually be innocent or if he would be guilty. At least that's how I personally feel on the matter. But yeah, just looking back in all this, it's been an entire mess. And though I'll repeat what Mr. Enter did say, that yes, it is true that when it comes to everybody here, everyone is innocent until further proven guilty. But still, though, like, even like as great of a job that Mr. Enter did over here, I feel like this is a video that just should not exist. I mean, like, yeah, it's great that he did this, but it's really unfortunate that we're in a position that because this allegation is out there and that the KP video made things so much more complicated, it just makes this entire controversy feel like a massive mess, and it end up hurting others than actually helping the entire situation. Now, with that said, though, I know we don't necessarily have a whole lot of time, but now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, how do you feel about the current stance of the Saberspark controversy? And if you have seen Mr. Enter's video, I would like to know your comments on that. All right, so let's see what we got here. Honestly, the Saberspark controversy sounds like it might not be over. For KP and Courtney Pete, it is very much over for them. For the victim, if what happened to them is true, then this might be a problem for them. For Saber, I don't think it's absolutely over. I think something might happen later this year. Whether it's him filing a lawsuit or someone else making an accusation, I feel like this isn't over yet. I'm still unsubscribed just in case. Honestly, that is fair. And I think that's the only real conclusion that we could go and say. When it comes to KP, when it comes to the Brony Fandone account, they're done. They're like full on canceled. And that's another reason why I feel like Saber wouldn't go and actually sue them, because like, what more could you do against KP and Brony Fandone? I mean, they're pretty much done. Their credibility is like full on finished. I mean, really, like if you see that, like if you're doing a lawsuit, you're pretty much kicking them while they're down. I mean, like, what more can you do against them at this point? They're already at the bottom at this point. Like, if you want to do anything worse to them, you got to get a shovel in order to dig them deeper. Okay, anyways, I remember I watched Mr. Enter's video on the whole thing, and it was an excellent video. However, I will admit that it's still a big mystery if Saber did it or not, on top that it really made KP look even worse. I don't care anymore. I still think this is far from over, and I do think we need to wait. However, it doesn't help the whole thing with him defending Black Griffin despite all the controversies surround him. Yeah, that's like one of the major things that's a massive disadvantage to Saber. It's the whole factor of the Black Griffin controversy. So, yeah. Again, I completely understand where you're coming from if you're not going to be supporting Saber. Rather, if you think that maybe he might have done it, or because of the whole Black Griffin thing. Let's see. Well, it's official. KP's reputation is really taking a nosedive. I didn't watch the entirety of Enter's video since I've been busy with college, but this is a much better response than what KP did. He was able to take the situation seriously. He did a ton of work to answer some of the questions, and he has proven that he has changed since the Turning Red controversy. I really applaud his efforts in the Saberspark controversy, and I'm glad that he's been improving himself. Exactly. And it's kind of sad that when it comes to the cartoon community, it's not the kind that is forgiving when it comes to past controversies. And they would take something, even if it's like over a decade ago, and they would still try to go and make it feel like it's relevant today in order to go after someone. Take it from me, because I know some people are still going after me because of the whole thing with like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and Hotel Transylvania and whatever. But in the case of Mr. Enter, though, I think honestly, he should be applauded. He should be admired for the growth that he has done, and that he has shown that he is he's shown to be way better than how he was, like even back like during the pandemic and stuff like that. So at least there is that for him. Let's see what other comments. Props for you for disassociating with KP instantly after this mess happened. Credit to where credit is due, I guess. Mr. Enter did a good job to properly handle it. Sadly, this is not the answer I want to hear about Saberspark. We do want definitive answers from this so that we can put this to rest. It ain't over until we have the answers, honestly. Sure, it's not perfect, but at least Enter did a better job than KP's video. Exactly, man. This is not the answer anybody wants. We want this to be over as soon as possible. But the reality of the situation is that we don't have the materials needed to conclude this entire story. And honestly, I want this to conclude for everyone, for both Saberspark and for Emily. Like, I'm hoping that there is a definitive answer to know, like, who's telling the truth, who's lying, and, like, who did it and who didn't. Let's see. What other comments do we have? Let's see. Honestly, this whole controversy has been all over the place. Mr. Enter might have answered many questions, but I still don't think it's over. Also, Saber saying Black Griffin is innocent is like saying a criminal is innocent after robbing a bank. But I think I'm done with KP. Seriously, ukulele videos are less of a joke than her video. Yeah, honestly, that could be a hell of a debate. Which one, like, who did a worse video? Is it the ukulele video or is it KP's video? Well, we'll find out soon enough. All right, I think I'll go and answer one more question at this point. Or is there one more comment that I can go and read? Just to go and double check. All right, as much as I need more evidence and answers on the Saberspark controversy, I am going to applaud Mr. Enter on his video. This might be his redemption. Exactly, folks. So at this point, I don't think, like, maybe this controversy is not over, but at this point, what else can be said about this entire situation? And with that said, that should go and do it with this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for joining me on this episode. And also, I would like to go and say that if you want to go and follow for more adventures here on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, then don't forget to go and subscribe to either the AniMat Live Twitch channel or the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. At the same time, if you are listening to me on whatever podcast service you're listening to, don't forget to go and follow me there, whether it be on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and many more. And with that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.